Hi, my name is Rebecca D Barrera, and I have been a student at the University of Texas at San Antonio for a year now, and hope to continue my education at this school to achieve my master's in international business after completing my bachelor's in communication. After I graduate, I plan to inherit my parents' real estate and import and export companies in hopes to continue to run both with prestige and grace, as I have seen each of my parents do before me for many years, which is basically for as long as I can remember. I was born and grew up in a small border town, brought here by two inspiring individuals named Ramiro and Adriana Barrera. They blessed me with two very intelligent older sisters and this extraordinarily wonderful life. As I grew older, I began to develop a fierce desire to live a healthy and in tune lifestyle, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Fortunately for me, my family never let me miss a single meal, and my ita, which is short for abuelita in Spanish, would never let me leave her house with at least a tummy ache from none other than eating too much of her home-cooked delicious creations. Intelligent, powerful, absolutely beautiful women surrounded me, all whom which thrived in the kitchen. Like the British guard whom have each perfected their work, to the point which their routinely changing of guard is executed flawlessly every day, and each member is just as excellent as the one before him. Before I knew it, I found myself in high school with an intense love for cooking and eating, which also meant I had developed self-esteem issues internally that came none other than the number on the scale. I paused and looked at everything and everyone around me. I had no excuse for sitting back and crying. None of the women around me would just sit back and continue to feel the way I did for another day. It was then and there when I decided to be like my mother and her mother, my grandmother and her mother, and so on and so forth, and do something about the way I felt, since I understood only I could truly change the way I felt about myself permanently and undoubtedly. I told the idea to my sisters, but they only laughed at me and suggested I focus my time on something else more realistic. And there it was, all the motivation I would ever need, and thus began my journey for a new lifestyle. Since I began this new path that started my freshman year of high school, I have lost over 20 pounds without ever skipping a meal, have been able to keep the weight off, and have since continued to work on my mental, physical, and emotional self. Without question, this has been the hardest thing I have ever done, but to say the least, was absolutely worth it in every single way. This quest helped me positively not only to change my mind from thinking something was impossible, but to working hard and making it happen. This also allowed me to gain a new sense of accomplishment due to the fact I had shown my sisters I could do anything and everything I set my mind to with a little hard work, of course. I felt invincible at the moment, and since then have seen myself begin to grow into the woman I am proud to be. After a year, I attracted a close friend who found herself in a similar situation and asked me, of all people, to guide her in the same direction I was heading. Undeniably, there would be endless gym sessions, constant food prepping, consistent food weighing, protein taking, long hours, etc. involved in which absolutely necessary for permanent results. It was then helping others that I was able to discover that I loved every single moment of it, every single part. It taught me discipline, hard work, persistence, with its fair share of insanely difficult sacrifices. I was an inspiration to a friend, to my friend, the end goal of everything she was working for, her hero. I had never felt so forever at home with the cold, dark floors and silver stainless equipment that entertained me like a child at the carnival, in awe, watching each of its moving parts. I fell in love with the feeling of breathlessness, where my mind was forced to stop thinking, if for at least only that moment, where I made the decision to resist in giving to the crying of my muscles that were aching, begging me to stop, and instead listen to that one small voice in my head telling me I can and I will. But after 8 months of patience with Veronica, my good friend was able to gain her own confidence mentally, physically, and emotionally. And that is exactly what is required by this kind of work. I agree it does not require a cape, but it does, in the words of my favorite bodybuilder, the one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger, reflect you worked hard for it. No money can buy it, you cannot borrow it, you cannot inherit it, you cannot steal it. You cannot hold on to it without constant work. It shows discipline, it shows self-respect, it shows patience, worth ethic, and passion. That's why I do what I do. I am definitely not where I want to be physically or mentally, but I did find the motivation in myself to make this a lifestyle. My top 3 goals for this class are: 1, to expand my knowledge on communication through a new perspective. 2, to develop better online communication skills. And 3, to gain more confidence when communicating in person, through video, and online. Thank you very much.